Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first episode of Untitled Terrarium with me, your host, SerpaDesign. In this series I'm going to teach you how to make terrariums of various kinds. We're going to be making succulent terrariums like this, closed tropical terrariums such as these three, and much more. In this video we're going to be making a succulent terrarium like this. You need some sort of open glass container like these. You get them at your local craft store or thrift store. I happen to get both these at a local craft store. This one was $20 and this one was $6. If you're looking for a hanging one of this size, typically they'll probably run you around $25. I just happen to get a pretty good price on it. But this is the one that we're going to be using in the demonstration. Second, you're going to need a soil that drains well. You can buy a pre-mixed soil or you can mix up your own. In this demonstration I'm going to show you how to mix up your own. For this mix, you're going to need some type of soil, such as cocoa fiber, peat moss, or potting soil. I have cocoa fiber here since I have it for all my reptiles and amphibians. You'll need some type of bark or wood chips. Here I have orchid bark, which is pretty readily available and cheap. You'll need sand of some sort. The coarser the sand, the better, such as horticulture grade sand, which is pretty coarse. Here I just have play sand, which will work fine for the demonstration, and if you want to use it at home it will work fine as well, but the coarser the sand the better, so if you can obtain it I would say go for that. Next you'll need some type of gravel. You could use aquarium gravel or just this type of gravel, which you could get at a hardware store. It's much cheaper, not as fine, but for the price you can't go wrong. And finally, you need perlite or pumice. We have perlite here, which is pretty cheap, and it helps keep the soil a little bit more aerated and drain a little bit better. Next, you will need your succulents. You can find succulents readily available at any hardware store, nurseries, or even online. In the description are some links to where you can buy succulents. Whenever you're buying them, just keep in mind that ultimately the plants that you have will basically determine how your terrarium is landscaped. So get some taller plants for background plants, some shorter plants for foreground plants, and some mid-range plants for your mid-ground. Finally, you'll need some accent pieces such as wood, moss, this is just some sheet moss, reindeer lichen, suggest white or green since it's the natural colors, and stones. Okay, so to begin this project we're going to mix up our soil. Basically you need some type of measuring tool. For this I'm just going to use a solo cup. You can really use anything depending on how big your terrarium is, and as you saw that one was pretty large, so we're going to need a good bit of soil here. Okay, so for this mix you're going to need 3 parts soil. Like I said earlier, I'm going to be using cocoa fiber. So 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to double this formula now that I'm seeing it in the bucket. I don't think it's going to be enough for that terrarium. So 1, 2, and 3. So that's still 3 parts soil. Just doubled it. Okay, now we're going to need 1 part wood chips. Like I said earlier, I'm using orchid bark. So 1, since I doubled it, 2, and then we're going to need 1/2 part sand and gravel. I'm just going to do a full cup for both of them here since I doubled it. And then finally we're going to need 2 parts perlite. Since I doubled it, keep saying that, you can do 4 here. Okay, now we're just going to mix this all up. Now as you can see, it kind of looks like a traditional potting mix, but it's a lot more crumbly, which is what we're looking for. because in a succulent terrarium you want max drainage. If you mix your soil with a little bit of water and then wring it out, it should just still kind of crumble, similar to how it did when it was dry. That's how you know if you mixed it up properly. The second step, which I'm going to do right now, isn't required, but I highly recommend it. Basically what we're going to do is fill up this container about 2 inches, so depending on the size of your container, roughly like right here, with gravel, and then we're going to put a fine mesh over top of that. What this is going to do is create a false bottom, which will save you if you overwater your terrarium. And like I said before, it's not like necessary, but I highly recommend it. Alright, so now we got our rocks in here. And what we're going to do now is put this mesh over top of it. And what I'm using here is a weed blocker. You can really use any type of fine mesh that's not metal or that will rust. So I'm going to try cutting this here to a good size. Okay, and so you should end up with something sort of like this. It doesn't have to be perfect. Actually, I'm going to cut a little bit more off now that I see it in there. Just like this. If it doesn't entirely cover up your rocks, that's okay. Mine does, but it doesn't have to. And so next what we're going to do is put our soil in here. I'm going to put some rocks on this mesh here just to keep it down from folding over on itself, just a few. And basically what you're going to do is, you can do this with your hands or with the container, just kind of sprinkle your soil in there. Don't compact it like this. Basically what that will do is compact the soil, and it's not good for succulent plants. So just gonna sprinkle this in here like this. Keep in mind that your succulents have soil in the containers with them, so this will also take up space, but since mine's pretty large, I don't really have to worry about that as much. And as you saw there, I just kind of sweeped it around. That's okay. I'm not like compacting it, I'm just kind of moving it around. And just flatten that out, and we're good. Okay, so now you have your soil in your container. You may have a false bottom, may not. Doesn't really matter if you do. And the next step, what I'm gonna do at least, is put in my driftwood. You can do this after you plant the plants or beforehand. I feel like it'd be easier in mine, just because they're pretty large and I kind of want to plant the plants around it. So I'm going to put these in and then plant my plants. And so here, I'll plant my first plant. I'll do this background plant here. It's kind of taller. It's pretty nice looking. I like the little red tips on it. But basically what we're going to do is simply dig out a little hole with your fingers. Again, don't compact the soil. So you got your hole. Just kind of squeeze the pot at the base, and then your plant should just slide right out. You don't want to pull it out, you might ruin the roots or rip some of the stems. And then you're just gonna drop this into the hole. Working here through the hole in the front there, and then lightly pack the soil around the base here. There we go, we got that one in how we want it. I'll move it around slightly because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, but if you're not as much a perfectionist as me, it should be a relatively easy task. So what I'm going to do here is continue planting the plants. You'll get to see this in a time lapse, since it will probably take a little while. And yeah, I'm going to get started here. I'm going to turn it sideways because it'll be easier for me to plant this stuff, but here we go. Sometimes you might have to add more soil in. If you get it on top of the plants like this, don't worry about that, we'll take care of it later. And then just kind of put it in like that. Alright, so now you got all your plants in there, dirt all over all of mine, which I'll show you what you can do to take care of that in just a second here. Alright, now as you can see, like I said before, there's dirt all over my plants, like right here. So what you can do is just get a drinking straw, and it's better if you have one that bends. You just bend it towards your plant and you just go. And then you just, see, nice and clean. So go through, do that on all your plants. I'm going to do that right now, and then I'll show you the next step. Alright, so here's my terrarium, fully planted, but it looks kind of bland, you know, it needs those final touches. So we're going to add some sheet moss, some reindeer lichen, and a few stones. But with the stones, you don't want to go overboard. If you put too many in there, it will be kind of distasteful, and it just takes away from the natural look of what we're going for here. So we have some sheet moss. I'm gonna do that first, and just kind of break it up. It comes all dried up in sheets, hence the name sheet moss. And just gonna put some right here. You can kind of press this in. It shouldn't really affect the soil very much. And I'm going to try to cover up most of the soil. I don't really like how it looks. You know, some people might like how it looks, but personally I don't really think it's very attractive. So, slump those plants over it. Just going to keep adding it in here. See how it turned out. So I'm just going to keep doing that. You guys get to see this in a nice time lapse again, so I'm gonna cut to that. Okay, so as you can see, I got most of it filled up with that sheet moss. Kind of running out of it here, so I'm gonna start putting in some reindeer lichen. I'm just gonna break it into pretty small pieces and just stuff it into spots like that. See? And I have green and white, so I'm gonna try to mix it up as to where I put the different colors where. So I'm gonna probably do mostly white up front here, kind of like the look of how it contrasts with this red. So like I said before, we want this to look as natural as possible. Don't want it to look like you just threw a bunch of stuff together and it just kind of is how it is. Some people like to put in all these big pebbles and stuff like that, but personally I don't really like the look of that. I think it makes it look really like I said before, kind of distasteful and just unnatural. So I'm just basically trying to cover up all of the soil. I don't want to see any of that perlite. Looking pretty good to me. Let me just get a few more pieces of lichen in here. I'm gonna put a little bit more back there. Put that up. And get just a little piece right there and right there. Okay, and so now I'm gonna add the stones, which this is essentially the final step. I just have some flat sandstone here. You can get smooth stones, different things like that, but I think that the sandstone look is a little bit more natural for these type of plants, at least. Yeah, I kind of like how that looks. Let's add one over there. Like it looks like it got broken. Back here. Here's how you properly mist your terrarium. I'm using a pressurized mister here, and you just kind of want to go like, have a more fine mist. Just kind of mist it around. You probably want to do a little bit more on the first mist, just to help the plants get acclimated, but just kind of go around. That's good. Water your succulent terrarium every other day or thereabouts. If you're overwatering your succulents, they'll tend to become translucent or fall apart. If you're underwatering your plants, they'll start to become discolored or even black. If you notice the symptoms of overwatering or underwatering, change up your watering habits till you get optimal results. It should take a little while for you to perfect this, but you should not lose too many plants in the process. If you stuck through till the end of this video, I greatly appreciate it. Hopefully you learned something along the way, and good luck making your succulent terrarium. If you have any comments or questions, leave them in the boxes below or send me a message. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. If you like the rest of my content and want to see more terrarium how-tos as soon as they come out, subscribe to my channel and see more in the near future. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.